Airports are so much more than just buildings with gates. They're these massive, incredibly intricate machines that are built to last for decades. Every single flight you take, yeah, that relies on decisions that were made years, sometimes even decades ago. So, how on earth do you design something today that's still going to work perfectly in the year 2075?
I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. Try to predict the kind of technology we'll have, how many people will be flying, or even what the planes themselves will look like 50 years from now. It sounds, it sounds pretty much impossible, right? But here's the thing. For the world's airports, it's not just a nice idea. It's absolutely essential. This kind of long-range thinking is a core part of their job. And luckily, they have a very specific tool to help untangle this incredibly complex knot of future possibilities. So let's talk about the airport's long game. They rely on what you could call an invisible blueprint. And this blueprint guides literally everything, from the exact angle of a runway all the way down to where they should put the coffee shop.
This blueprint has a formal name, the Airport Strategic Master Plan. And you've got to understand, it's way more than just a map. It's really a vision for the future.
So, to put it simply, a master plan is that long-term blueprint. It's the single most important strategic document that guides how an airport is going to grow, how it's going to evolve, and most importantly, how it's going to stay safe for generations to come. Okay, so what's actually in this thing? Well, it lays out projections for how many passengers and planes they expect. It maps out where future runways, terminals, and roads will go, and it defines how both the air side, that's where the planes operate, and the land side, that's our world where we check in and wait, are going to change over time. But through all of that, its number one job is always to protect safety and capacity. And the time frame here is just huge. We're not talking about next year's budget. No, most master plans are looking 10, 20, even 30 years or more into the future. They create this phased vision for how the airport is going to develop, step by step. And this brings up a really important point. A master plan is a flexible framework. It is not a rigid construction schedule. It's all about the big picture, the strategic what and why. The nitty-gritty tactical stuff, the how and when, well, that comes much, much later. Okay, so we've covered what it is. But now for the big question. Why is having this plan so absolutely essential for running a safe and efficient airport? Well, for one, the stuff at airports is built to last. I mean, a runway they pour today could easily be in use 30, 40, even 50 years from now. Think about that. A single bad decision in 2025 could create massive bottlenecks and serious safety issues for travelers in 2075. The master plan is the best defense against making those incredibly expensive long-term mistakes.
Airports are also just intensely complex places. A huge part of the challenge is keeping all the different types of traffic safely separated. You just can't have service vehicles crossing an active taxiway, right? Or passenger cars blocking an emergency route. The master plan is specifically designed to make sure that as the airport grows, these critical flows never, ever dangerously overlap. And of course, an airport doesn't operate in a bubble. Just think of all the different groups involved. You've got the airlines, air traffic control, border agencies, fire and rescue. The list goes on. The master plan acts like a shared playbook, so all these different partners can see the vision and line up their own long-term plans. And finally, it all comes down to global standards. There are international bodies, like the ICAO, that set the benchmarks for aviation safety all over the world. A master plan is basically how an airport proves that its development plans are safe, logical, and totally in line with these global best practices. So let's talk about why this plan is public. Now, you might think a strategic document this important would be kept under lock and key, but actually, the opposite is true. Master plans are almost always public documents, and believe me, there are some very smart reasons for being so transparent. First, making the plan public creates transparency for the local communities. It shows them what to expect when it comes to things like noise or traffic. It's also often a legal requirement for getting environmental and zoning approvals. For airlines and investors, it sends a clear signal of stability. And finally, it creates public accountability, which forces the airport to really justify its decisions and ultimately make better ones. But that transparency definitely has its limits. A public master plan is not a completely open book. Not at all. For really obvious security reasons, you are never going to find things like detailed security layouts or specific emergency response plans in the public version. The broad strategy is out there for everyone to see, but the sensitive security details,
they stay confidential, as they should.
So, when you put this all together, what's the real lasting impact of this blueprint? Well, it's nothing less than the very foundation of a trusted aviation system.
At the end of the day, master plans are what allow these massive, complex systems to grow and evolve safely over many decades. They provide the bedrock for planning responsibly, growing safely, coordinating with everyone involved, and staying accountable to all of us.
You know, if you were to boil down this entire philosophy into one single mantra, this would be it. Plan long, build safely, and operate transparently. That really is the core principle of any modern trusted airport. So, next time you fly, I want you to look around. That gentle curve of the taxiway, the distance between your gate and the security line, the way the drop-off lanes flow. None of it is an accident. It's all part of a plan that was probably set in motion years ago. So the real question is, what piece of that invisible blueprint will you see?